Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. The small village of Willow Creek seemed frozen in time. Its cobblestone streets, lined with pastel-painted wooden houses, gave the impression that nothing could disturb its tranquility. The inhabitants, attached to their habits and reputations, knew every face and every story. Gossip spread faster than the wind over the surrounding hills. In this idyllic setting, appearance and social status were often judged more harshly than actions themselves. It was in this village that Emily Carter arrived one misty spring morning. She stepped out of her old taxi carrying a simple yet elegant leather bag and dressed modestly, almost discreetly, a cream blouse and a navy blue skirt. Her shoes were clean but ordinary, a far cry from the sophisticated heels she would have worn in New York. Her brown hair, slightly wavy, framed her delicate face, illuminated by piercing green eyes, full of determination and calm. Emily wasn't born in this village. She came from a wealthy and influential family, but no one here knew it. She had spent the last 10 years studying and working in big cities, mastering the arts of management, communication, and diplomacy. Yet she had chosen Willow Creek for its peaceful scenery and to escape the hustle and bustle of her former life. She wanted a fresh start, a life where she would be judged by her actions, not her name or her past. Her immediate goal, to find a job and blend in discreetly. She had chosen the Sunrise Café, an iconic spot in the village, renowned for its warm atmosphere and quality coffee. But Emily didn't know that behind the counter lay a veritable social microcosm. The employees, each with their own personality and influence, carefully observed the newcomers. Among them, Sophie Reynolds, the star waitress, enjoyed teasing others about their clumsiness, while Maggie Thompson, the owner, was known for her strictness and her attachment to village traditions. That day, Emily walked through the café door with a mixture of nervousness and calm. Her heart was beating faster than she would have admitted. She felt the gazes of the employees and the few early morning customers on her. The murmurs began almost immediately, subtle but present, like a shiver in the air. Who is she? It looks like she's in the wrong place. Emily, aware of the fragility of her first impressions, took a deep breath. She knew that this day, her first day on the job, was going to be a test. Not only of her skills, but of her patience, her resilience, and her ability to stay true to herself in the face of judgment and humiliation. She didn't yet know how much Willow Creek would test her resolve, nor that the residents, so quick to judge, would soon discover they had been wrong all along. At that precise moment, as she crossed the counter of the Sunrise Café, Emily had no idea that this first step in this quiet little village would be the beginning of a story where humility, courage, and family secrets would intertwine to forever change everyone's perception of her. The sun had barely risen over Willow Creek when Emily Carter pushed open the door of the Sunrise Café. The aroma of freshly ground coffee and warm bread filled her nostrils. She felt a slight rush of adrenaline. This first day would determine her place in this village she had only just discovered. Behind the counter, Maggie Thompson, the owner, watched silently. A woman in her 50s, with perfectly styled gray hair and piercing eyes, Maggie was used to judging each new recruit with formidable severity. Beside her, Sophie Reynolds, the café's star waitress, snickered as Emily set down her bag. "Hello. I'm Emily, I'm here to start today," Emily said with a slight smile, trying to sound confident. Sophie leaned towards a colleague and whispered loudly enough for Emily to hear. "Did you see her outfit? She looks like she's from another century." Emily felt a shiver of embarrassment. She glanced down at her skirt and blouse. Simple. Modest. Nothing extravagant. She took a deep breath, suppressing the rising anger and embarrassment. She knew showing her frustration now would be a mistake. Maggie, for her part, intervened in a curt tone. "Very well, Emily. You'll start by taking orders and serving customers. Observe first, then act. And above all, don't make any mistakes." Emily nodded. She knew that one wrong move today could seal the first impression people had of her, and in a village like Willow Creek, first impressions were almost definitive. The first customer arrived, an old man with a cane, smiling shyly. Emily approached, took his order, and calmly repeated it for confirmation. Her tone was polite, her voice soft but confident. The old man nodded with satisfaction and smiled at her. Sophie looked at her with a mixture of skepticism and amusement. Then came the incident. A customer in a hurry, clumsy, spilled his coffee on the counter. The other waitresses stepped back, some snickering. Emily, without hesitation, grabbed a cloth and began to clean up quickly. She paid attention to every detail, wiping away the stains while reassuring the customer. Sophie sneered again. Well, at least she knows how to wipe up a coffee. Emily remained calm and smiled slightly, as if this humiliation meant nothing. Inside, she was thinking, they don't know who I am yet, and they'll soon find out. The rest of the morning passed in a mixture of murmurs and attentive observation. The villagers were curious, the employees skeptical. Emily continued to work efficiently, noting every detail, anticipating the customer's needs, all while remaining discreet. As she placed a cup on the counter, the old man looked at her intently and murmured, "You seem different." Emily simply smiled at him, without saying a word. But she knew that those words were more precious than all the superficial compliments in the world. On that first day, Emily had been judged, mocked, and slightly humiliated. But she had also begun to sow the seeds of respect and admiration, even if no one in the cafe realized it yet. In Willow Creek, one's true identity could remain hidden, but not forever. The morning wore on at the Sunrise Cafe, and Emily Carter was beginning to find her rhythm. Every order was precise, every movement measured, and yet, she felt the curious, sometimes mischievous, gazes upon her. The villagers, accustomed to their little routines and gossip, murmured amongst themselves as soon as she passed by. Sophie Reynolds, sitting near the counter, was whispering with her colleagues. "Did you see her? She's always smiling, but look how she serves the customers. It's like she can do everything." A muffled laugh accompanied his remark. Emily, although aware of the murmurs, showed no reaction. She kept her head high and focused on her work, perfectly mastering the art of discretion. Even Maggie Thompson, usually cold and distant, couldn't help but observe the young woman with growing curiosity. She noticed the precision with which Emily arranged the cups, served the customers, and cleaned the counter. A quiet, almost mechanical efficiency that contrasted sharply with the clumsiness of the other employees. Maggie frowned. She's different." Emily knew that whispers were inevitable. Willow Creek was a village where appearance and reputation trumped everything else. Here, one mistake, one clumsy move, and everyone would form a definitive opinion about you. But Emily had learned to remain unmoved by the judgment of others. She hadn't come here to be accepted immediately. She had come to prove her worth through her actions, not words or titles. At lunchtime, a group of customers entered. Emily served them attentively, anticipating their needs before they even expressed them. The murmurs grew louder, but this time tinged with admiration. "She's quick and polite. It seems like she's used to working in much more prestigious places." Despite this, Sophie was not impressed and made a mocking comment, almost provocatively. "Oh, look, she's writing everything down. As if she's going to write a book about our cafe." Emily smiled inwardly. She knew these whispers were inevitable, but also that every small victory, every deliberate action, was beginning to attract the attention of the right people. Among them, an old regular at the cafe, Mr. Harrison, watched silently. His watchful gaze and subtle smile betrayed a growing impression: Emily was not ordinary. At the end of the day, Emily stepped away from the counter to pack her things. Her mind analyzed every interaction, every judgment. The whispers of the village were already present, but Emily felt that, slowly, she was beginning to sow respect where she had initially been ignored. In Willow Creek, reputation was built slowly, but Emily Carter knew that her patience and determination would eventually reveal her true worth. And deep down, she smiled at the thought that soon, no one would make fun of her, or at least, not for long. The morning of the second day began like any other for Emily Carter. She had learned to recognize customers' habits and preferences, which made her more efficient and attentive. Yet, Willow Creek still had a lesson to teach her. While serving coffee to a demanding customer, a clumsy young man tripped and abruptly knocked over his cup on the counter. The scalding liquid splashed onto the varnished wood, and the other customers jumped. An awkward silence fell. Sophie Reynolds, unable to contain her amusement, exclaimed, "Well, that's a great start for our new recruit." A low, mocking laugh echoed among the employees, and a few customers offered amused smiles. Emily felt a wave of warmth rise to her cheeks, but she didn't let on. Without hesitation, she grabbed a cloth and began to wipe away the mess with remarkable precision. Each movement was measured, quick but elegant, and she calmed the panicked young man. "Don't worry, it happens to everyone. I'll take care of it." Her tone was gentle, yet firm. Her posture reflected an inner calm that contrasted with the chaos around her. The impressed client nodded and murmured, "Thank you, really." Sophie, observing the scene, felt a pang of concern. Emily showed no signs of embarrassment or anger, and yet she had just transformed a humiliating incident into a demonstration of skill and control. But the humiliation wasn't over. Maggie Thompson, who had witnessed the scene, intervened with a mixture of authority and curiosity. "Emily, you're doing well, but I suppose you're not afraid to get your hands dirty." Emily nodded, smiling slightly. "Not at all. My goal is for the customer to leave satisfied." Inside, she felt a mixture of satisfaction and calm. Willow Creek wasn't used to this kind of composure from a newcomer. Whispers quickly spread, some admired her quick thinking, others wondered who this girl really was. Mr. Harrison, the old regular, who had been observing the scene from his table, gave a knowing smile. He saw something that the others didn't yet see. Emily Carter possessed a quiet strength, a rare calm, capable of transforming mockery into respect. Once the situation was resolved, Emily resumed her duties as if nothing had happened. Sophie, though annoyed at not having embarrassed her, was beginning to feel a mixture of curiosity and admiration. Even Maggie seemed to be thinking, silently noting the young woman's every move. This first incident, intended to ridicule her, had instead revealed a part of her inner strength. Emily knew that in Willow Creek, she would have to face many more judgments, but for the first time, she had shown that nothing, neither mockery nor humiliation, could stop her. Rumors of the spilled cup incident quickly spread through Willow Creek. Some customers, intrigued, came to observe Emily Carter at the Sunrise Cafe, trying to understand why this new employee showed no signs of embarrassment despite the mockery of others. That morning, as Emily cleaned the tables with the precision and patience that were beginning to characterize her, an old man approached the counter. It was Mr. Harrison, a regular at the cafe for decades and respected in the village for his wisdom and impartiality. "I must say, young lady," he began with a warm smile, "I observed you yesterday and today. Your calm and your way of handling situations are remarkable. Few people could have remained so composed." Emily, slightly surprised by the compliment, inclined her head politely. "Thank you, Mr. Harrison. I'm just doing my best." The old man nodded, visibly impressed. He turned to Maggie Thompson, who was watching the scene from a distance. "You have a rare gem here, Maggie. Don't let mockery or petty jealousies blind you." Maggie remained silent, but her eyes betrayed deep thought. Emily, on the other hand, felt a surge of inner warmth. The support of someone as respected as Mr. Harrison carried more weight than 1,000 superficial compliments. It confirmed what she had suspected, her patience and determination would eventually pay off. Sophie, who had overheard the conversation, stiffened slightly. She hadn't expected anyone to take the new girl's side. A mixture of jealousy and admiration stirred within her. She realized then that Emily wasn't simply awkward or shy, but possessed a strength and skill that many had underestimated. In the afternoon, Emily continued to serve customers with the same attentiveness and elegance. The murmurs around her shifted slightly. Where there had once been mockery, there was now a mixture of curiosity and burgeoning respect. Some customers returned just to see her in action, intrigued by this young woman who seemed capable of managing all the chaos of the cafe with an almost disconcerting calm. At the end of the day, as Emily was packing up her things, Mr. Harrison approached her again and whispered, "Keep it up, Emily. Willow Creek hasn't seen anything from you yet." Emily smiled inwardly. This unexpected support was a first victory. In a village where every newcomer was scrutinized, judged, and often ridiculed, having a respected ally like Mr. Harrison could make all the difference. And for the first time, Emily felt that mockery and whispers wouldn't hold her back. The village would have to get to know her, and it wouldn't be without surprises. The afternoon sun bathed the Sunrise Cafe in a golden light, and Emily Carter was beginning to feel more comfortable in her new responsibilities. She now knew the regular customers, their favorite orders, and even their little quirks. Yet, Willow Creek still had one more challenge to test her patience and composure. As the cafe buzzed with activity, the large espresso machine on the counter, faithful for years, emitted an ominous hiss and stopped working. The hurried customers began to murmur, some sighing impatiently. Sophie, panicked, turned to Maggie. "What are we going to do now?" Maggie shrugged, a little embarrassed, as the commotion rose in the room. Emily, who had been calmly observing the scene, approached the machine and examined the control panel. Her fingers brushed the buttons confidently, as if she had encountered this problem elsewhere. "I can take care of it," she said simply, taking out the technical manual stored in the counter drawer. Sophie looked at her, incredulous. You know how to do that?" Emily nodded without replying, concentrating on the problem. She followed each step of the manual, checking the filters, the pressure, and the internal circuitry. The customers watched curiously, while the tension in the cafe slowly subsided thanks to her calm control. After a few minutes of precise manipulation, the machine came back to life. A freshly brewed coffee flowed from the spout, and Emily immediately served it to the eager customer, who burst with joy. "Finally. Thank you so much." A murmur rippled through the room. "She repaired the machine herself, it's incredible." Even Sophie, usually mocking and critical, felt a touch of respect creeping into her. She understood that Emily was not just a novice, this young woman possessed rare skills and confidence. Maggie, who had been silently observing from behind the counter, couldn't hide her astonishment. Emily had just transformed a chaotic situation into a demonstration of skill and composure. She had not only resolved the technical problem, but she had also reassured the customers and maintained calm in the cafe. When everything returned to normal, Emily smiled gently and resumed her duties with her usual serenity. She knew that every gesture, every action, contributed to changing the villagers' perception of her. Where there had been mockery and skepticism, a nascent respect was beginning to take root. At the end of the day, Mr. Harrison, ever attentive, gave him an approving look. "You've done more than just fix a machine today, Emily. You've earned the trust of this cafe, and part of the village." Emily felt her heart fill with a silent pride. Willow Creek still had much to discover about her, but for the first time, she felt that her calm, patience, and intelligence were beginning to speak louder than whispers and judgments. The next morning, Willow Creek felt slightly different. The locals, who usually observed the comings and goings at the Sunrise Cafe with only moderate interest, were beginning to whisper about the new employee, Emily Carter. The previous day's exploits, managing the cafe's chaos, cleaning with elegance, and fixing the espresso machine, had spread through the village much faster than she could have imagined. Seated at a table, Emily served the regulars with her usual calm. A group of women were chatting quietly behind her. "Have you seen the news?" one of them whispered. "Yes, she didn't just clean the coffee, she repaired the machine herself," replied the other, astonished. "I wonder who she really is," murmured a third, intrigued. Emily overheard snippets of conversation but didn't let anything show. She knew that Willow Creek liked to judge quickly, but that a part of her curiosity and admiration was beginning to mix with the mockery. Even Sophie Reynolds was beginning to feel the tension. It was no longer simply a question of power within the cafe, Emily was becoming the focus of attention for the entire village. The young waitress whispered to Maggie. "I think we underestimated Emily." Maggie, frowning slightly, didn't reply. She simply observed, noting every gesture and every smile of the newcomer. Later that day, a customer took out his phone and shared a photo of Emily gracefully and efficiently serving coffee. The photo quickly circulated in village discussion groups, accompanied by comments such as, "Who is this mysterious girl? She's not just talented, she's incredible. I wonder where she comes from." Emily, observing the scene from a distance, felt an inner smile. The murmurs had turned into curiosity, and curiosity would soon mingle with admiration. The village was slowly beginning to realize that she wasn't just another clumsy new employee. Mr. Harrison, true to his role as a silent sage, watched her from his usual table. He already understood something that many did not yet see. Emily possessed something rare in this village where everyone knew each other too well, a quiet strength capable of changing the perception of others. As the sun set over Willow Creek, Emily packed her things, aware that each day brought a new challenge. But this time, the whispers around her weren't just mocking. They contained a spark of respect and interest. And Emily knew that from now on, the real question for the village wasn't to judge her, but to discover who she truly was. A few days after the events at the cafe, Emily Carter received an unexpected invitation. Maggie Thompson wanted her to attend the village's annual charity dinner. For most of the locals, this dinner was an opportunity to be seen, to display their status, and to maintain social and family networks. For Emily, it was a subtle opportunity to show another side of herself. That evening, she entered the Great Hall of the Willow Creek Community Hall, dressed in an elegant yet understated midnight blue gown. Her brown hair was styled in a simple chignon, and her face radiated a naturally charming glow. The guests, most of whom were regulars at local social gatherings, noticed her immediately. The murmurs resumed. "Who is this girl? She looks refined. She's not from the village, that's obvious." Emily remained calm. She walked confidently, smiling politely at everyone she met. Every gesture was deliberate, every word carefully chosen. She took her place in the ward, ready to help Maggie and the volunteers. The guests were quickly impressed by his ability to anticipate needs, distribute plates, and answer questions with natural ease. Even the village children seemed fascinated by his kindness and patience. The mayor, Mr. Caldwell, a man in his 60s, approached her curiously. "You seem very comfortable in this role," he said, smiling. Emily inclined her head slightly. "I believe that good service contributes to a successful evening, sir." The mayor was pleasantly surprised by her maturity and politeness. Beside him, Maggie watched Emily with quiet pride. The new recruit, who had been mocked at the cafe a few days earlier, now held the attention of the entire hall. Sophie, for her part, remained silent, a mixture of jealousy and admiration in her eyes. She had thought Emily would be easily ridiculed, but now she saw that she possessed a natural charisma and social intelligence that allowed her to navigate with ease in this village microcosm. As the evening progressed, Emily chatted with several influential guests, always with tact and elegance. She listened attentively, asked insightful questions, and shared anecdotes, revealing a rare blend of modesty and competence. Murmurs of admiration rippled through the hall. "She's incredible. This girl is not ordinary." At the end of the evening, as the last guests were leaving the hall, Mr. Harrison approached Emily and whispered to her. "You did far more than just help with this dinner, you captivated the entire village without even realizing it." Emily smiled, aware that evening, Willow Creek had begun to discover a part of her true self. Mockery and skepticism were slowly giving way to respect and curiosity. And Emily knew that this was only the beginning of her transformation in the heart of the village. A few days after the charity dinner, the village of Willow Creek was abuzz. Whispers about Emily Carter were growing louder. Her work ethic, patience, and elegance had captured the attention of almost every resident. But the more the villagers took an interest in her, the more they wondered, who was this young woman, really? That morning at the Sunrise Cafe, Emily was serving customers with her usual calm. Suddenly, a group of elderly ladies, curious and slightly insistent, approached her. One of them dared to ask, Emily, you've come a long way, haven't you? You talk and act like someone who's used to big cities. Emily smiled politely and replied. Yes, I come from the city, but I chose Willow Creek for its tranquility and charm. This simple yet elegant answer only heightened the villagers' curiosity. Their stares became insistent, and their questions began to revolve around his past, his family, and his impressive skills. Later that morning, an older customer, intrigued by her ability to manage the cafe and the customers with such ease, watched her closely. You're not just an employee, are you? Emily raised her eyebrows with a mysterious smile. I suppose you'll have to wait to find out. Meanwhile, Sophie Reynolds, who had been observing the scene from behind the counter, felt her astonishment growing. The girl she had tried to ridicule was not only competent, but also possessed a charm and social intelligence that were beginning to captivate the entire village. That afternoon, Emily was called in to help set up a corner of the cafe for a local auction. Her way of preparing the items, guiding the customers, and handling the transactions impressed even Maggie Thompson. Maggie, who until then had observed Emily cautiously, couldn't help but whisper to Sophie. That girl, she's not what she seems. Sophie nodded silently, unable to deny the truth. At the end of the day, as Emily was leaving the cafe, Mr. Harrison stopped her and said softly. The village is beginning to understand that you are different. But your true strength lies in your ability to remain humble while showcasing your skills. That impresses more than anything. Emily smiled. She knew that the mystery surrounding her identity was beginning to unravel little by little. Willow Creek had begun to realize that she wasn't simply a clumsy new employee, but someone capable of transforming how others perceived her. And, in her mind, Emily knew that the moment would soon come when the whole village would discover her true identity, a revelation that would forever change their view of her. A few weeks had passed since Emily Carter's arrival in Willow Creek. The whispers about her identity and abilities continued, but they had changed in tone. Where there had been mockery and skepticism, there was now admiration and respect. That morning, the Sunrise Cafe was packed. Emily moved effortlessly among the tables, serving each customer with a blend of smile, patience, and efficiency. Even Sophie Reynolds, who had previously openly mocked her, now watched her every move with silent attention. She wasn't laughing anymore, she was learning. A group of influential villagers were present, including Mr. Caldwell, the mayor, and several members of the town council. They were discussing amongst themselves while observing Emily. Look at her. The mayor murmured. She is organized, polite and quick. Added another. And she remains calm, even with the crowd. Impressive. During service, an incident occurred. A customer accidentally knocked over their tray of pastries. The other employees rushed over in a panic, but Emily remained calm. She knelt down, picked up the fallen pastries, carefully wiped them dry, and placed them back on the tray with surprising grace. The customers quietly applauded her composure and efficiency. Sophie, witnessing this scene, couldn't help but whisper. I suppose we were completely wrong about her. Maggie, who had been watching from a distance, nodded her head in satisfaction. She was now aware that Emily's humility and competence were transforming the perception of the entire cafe, and soon that of the whole village. At the end of the morning, Mr. Harrison approached Emily, a knowing smile on his face. You've won over Willow Creek, Emily. Even those who doubted you are beginning to genuinely admire you. Emily smiled inwardly. All the work, patience, and discretion she had shown was beginning to pay off. The villagers, once quick to judge and mock, were beginning to recognize her worth. This respect, earned not by words but by actions, was stronger and more lasting than any superficial approval. Emily knew that the village had begun to understand that behind her modest appearance hid an exceptional young woman, capable of transforming everyone's opinion through her determination, her calm, and her intelligence. And in her mind, Emily knew that the moment for the full revelation of her identity was approaching. Soon, Willow Creek would no longer see just the new employee, they would discover who she truly was, and no one would forget this transformation. The Sunrise Cafe was busier than ever. The residents of Willow Creek, intrigued by Emily Carter since her arrival, were now captivated by the young woman who had transformed the cafe's image with her competence, composure, and elegance. But no one yet knew the whole truth about her. That morning, Emily arrived with quiet confidence. She wore a simple but impeccable outfit, and her smile radiated assurance. Maggie Thompson, behind the counter, watched her with a mixture of pride and curiosity. Even Sophie Reynolds had stopped teasing, replaced by silent admiration. While Emily was serving coffee, the mayor, Mr. Caldwell, approached with an intrigued look. "Emily, there's something we need to know." Emily nodded gently and, with a subtle gesture, invited all the customers to come closer. "Willow Creek," she began, her voice calm but firm, "you have seen me work, handle incidents, and help each of you with respect and care. But it's time you knew who I really am." A respectful silence fell. The villagers, intrigued, awaited his words. Emily smiled and continued. "I am not simply a new employee brought in from the outside. I come from an influential family and grew up with responsibilities and skills that I wanted to put at your service. I did not come here to impress, but to show that respect, patience, and hard work speak louder than any title or appearance." The whispers spread immediately. Some villagers were left speechless, others exchanged astonished glances. Even Sophie, usually so sarcastic, felt her breath catch. She realized that Emily was not only competent and elegant, but that she possessed a strength and status that no one could have imagined. Maggie, visibly moved, approached and said, "Emily, you're not just an employee, you're an inspiration to us all." Mr. Harrison, true to his role as a wise man, smiled as he looked at her. "I told you, Emily. Willow Creek hadn't seen anything of you yet." Emily, with quiet serenity, finished. "What I wanted to show you is that no matter where you come from, no matter what others think at first, your worth is revealed by your actions and your determination." At that moment, the villagers' respect and admiration reached their peak. The mockery and judgment of the past were replaced by profound respect. Willow Creek had just discovered Emily's true identity, and no one could underestimate her now. Sophie, finally genuinely impressed, murmured, "I think we have a lot to learn from her." Emily smiled, satisfied but humble. The village had changed its perception of her, and she had, without raising her voice or asserting her status, proven that strength and quiet intelligence are worth more than any appearance. Willow Creek would never again see Emily Carter as just another newcomer. She had become a symbol of perseverance, competence, and grace, and no one would ever forget who she truly was.